Ghost Rider Final Vengeance, issue number 5 from Marvel Comics. This is the penultimate issue, I believe, because at the end of this issue it says to be concluded. So either the next issue is going to be the final issue of this series, or maybe just the final issue of the arc. I'm guessing the series. Like the way the story is going, we got to end it on the next issue. Also, I just wanted to end on the next issue. I'm not really a big fan of the Hood being the Ghost Rider. Like his design looks kind of cool, but other than that, like I don't really care. I want Johnny Blaze to be back as a Ghost Rider and do Ghost Rider things. So, speaking of the Hood, we start off this issue with the Hood, and he's basically talking about all his accomplishments. He's pretty much cleared out everything. He's made enemies with the vampires. In the last issue, basically him and the vampires had a falling out, and he like burned some of them, literally. And so, yeah, they're no longer working with him. But other than that, he controls all the trains, he controls all the shipyards, he controls all the gambling dens, and he controls the labor unions. There's only one last thing that he needs to control, and then all of Chicago will be his. Meanwhile, Johnny and Zeb show up to this church where there's this faceless nun who used to be a demon hunter and now has just a whole arsenal of weapons. Everything from your classic silver bullets to holy water grenades and crucifixes and blades and stuff. She even has his old costume. How she would have his old costume, I have no idea. That doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. It's fine. Just an excuse to get Johnny back in his classic costume. I will say that the artwork seems to have taken a hit. I don't know if it's like a new artist or not for this issue. I'll be honest with you, when it comes to comics, I really don't pay attention to writers or artists or anything like that because I know that like if I focus on that too much, then when I jump into a new series and I see their names, I'll have a preconceived bias based off of their previous stuff. Either I'll go in thinking, okay, I hated all their stuff, I'm probably gonna hate this, and I'm already starting at a negative point, or I love their previous stuff, so I'm gonna love this, and then I'm already giving them like a super positive bias. So I just don't pay attention to any of that stuff. If the character looks cool, or if the cover looks cool, if the story looks kind of cool, I'll jump into it. But other than that, I don't pay attention to writers or artists. I just know Benjamin Percy is involved in this because he's involved in everything Ghost Rider. But yeah, so I haven't been keeping track of the art. I don't know if it's the same artist from previous issues or same artist from previous Ghost Rider volumes. If it is the same, then maybe they're having an off day because it looks kind of weird, especially like the faces and stuff. Like this panel right here. I don't know why, but I was laughing when I saw this. It just looks really goofy. But yeah, we have the Hood, and he's talking to his ex-wife, and they kiss. And then she pulls away and she basically says that kissing him was like terrible. Like it felt like there's something burning. Like when I kissed you, I heard screaming, like 1,000 voices screaming. And she asks him to leave. So he's kind of like, while everything is going good for him, the one thing that he really wants, which is to reunite back with his ex-wife and kid, seems to be slipping away. Like the kid seems to be totally okay with him. It's the ex-wife that's putting up like walls that he can't break through. And so he thinks, well, once I get this final job, I'll have control of the entire city. I'll be like the richest, most powerful man in Chicago, the heartland of the US in terms of like trade and stuff like that. And there's no way she can refuse me then. So he's like slowly starting to kind of lose it. And meanwhile, Johnny and Zeb are just chilling out in the sewers. They're going to try to find Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, but they don't want to be topside because there's too many eyes. They want to limit the amount of eyes that will be on them because Mephisto wants to keep Johnny away from the spirit of vengeance. So Mephisto gathers a bunch of rats, forms like a giant version of himself out of rats that talks. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Reminds me of like a children's horror story I'm working on with rats like forming together to look like humans. So I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting. Going back to the artwork, this image of Johnny pulling the pen. Maybe it's the way the beard is drawn. It looks very weird. Like this seems like something that I would see like in a amateur web comic or something. It's just I don't know. Previous Ghost Rider artwork has been pretty good. Like I've never really complained about it too much, but here it just looks really off. This doesn't look like Johnny pulling the pin. This just it looks like he really just like took like an eyeliner and just kind of stenciled in like a beard or something. It something about this image just looks off to me. But yeah, he chucks the grenade, blows up Mephisto, and then just uses his Hellfire shotgun to start shooting the rest of the rats. And the one thing that the Hood wants to control is the drugs. So he has control of all the roads, all the train tracks, all the flight plans, and even all the shipping routes. And that makes it an ideal place for drug trade. So if he can control the drugs, that'll be the final piece of the puzzle. But the only person standing in his way is Danny Trejo. So yeah, the Hood fights Danny Trejo, and Danny Trejo puts up a battle. I mean, he shoots at the Hood. Doesn't really do anything. Bolts don't do anything to the Spirit of Vengeance, and instead the Hood uses his damnation stare to mesmerize all of Danny Trejo's men into shooting themselves. And then he basically tells Danny Trejo, "You work for me now." And Danny Trejo is like, "Nah. Like I heard about you. I heard that you keep stealing businesses all over town, but I'm not gonna hand over all my hard work to a loser like you." So instead, he shoots this flammable container and ends up blowing up the entire building. So all the drugs are gone. And this just pretty much breaks the Hood because him being called a loser just gives him like a flashback to his time as a Marvel loser character. The Hood's always been like a C-list villain. I think calling him a C-list villain is being generous, actually. He's just always been a very terrible character. But yeah, he's basically trying to overcompensate. Like he finally gains powers of the Spirit of Vengeance, and he uses it to try to become like basically the kingpin of Chicago. He tries to use it to take over the entire city. And everything was going well for him, but now things are starting to fall apart. First, his wife refuses to get back together with him. The vampires end up abandoning him. I mean, he did kind of force them to by attacking them, but yeah, he doesn't have underlings anymore. And now this guy straight up calls him a loser and blows up his entire business. And this kind of starts to break the Hood. And then there's a final thing that really just breaks the Hood, but I'm not going to spoil the rest. I'll leave it for you to check out for yourself. But yeah, outside of just the artwork at times, this was a pretty good issue. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Benjamin Percy is doing the best that he can with a terrible premise, in my opinion. I don't think anyone really was asking for a miniseries where the Hood becomes Ghost Rider. Maybe there is someone out there who's like, man, I really freaking love the Hood, and I always wanted to see him with the Spirit of Vengeance. And if so, that's a very weird wish, but hey, you got your wish. But other than that, I don't really see people asking for this kind of story. I mean, I sure as hell wasn't. But for a idea that sounds really dumb on paper, he's done the best that he can. Like it's still entertaining. If you were to ask me, like, do I want this series to continue? I'd say no. Not because I'm hating the series, but just because I rather the Spirit of Vengeance go back to Johnny and we continue with Johnny being the Ghost Rider and doing Ghost Rider things. Like I want a Johnny Blaze focused Ghost Rider series like we had previously. And I've said it before, the way that the last Ghost Rider volume left off, you could have immediately continued on, but instead we had him lose his power so we can give it to the Hood temporarily. I don't really care for that too much. But with that said, taking a terrible premise, doing the best they can, is still entertaining. I just kind of want it to end though at this point so that we can go back to telling Ghost Rider stories that I actually want to see. So there you go. There's the Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue number 5. I believe there's one more left and then we're done with this. We'll see. We'll see how they stick the landing, what they do with that. But yeah, I would give this like a 6 out of 10. It was good. Not great or anything, but, you know, above average, I guess. There you go. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.